Welcome back to History with Liam, where a real historian explores parts of history you may have not heard about before. Today we're exploring the life of the Catholic Church's newest saint, Carlo Acutis. Aged only 15 when he died in 2006, his life and road to sainthood can tell us much about the Catholic Church in the modern world. This video explores his life, the miracles he has claimed to have performed, and exactly what it takes to become a saint in the 21st century. When we think about Catholic saints, our minds often wander to figures from centuries ago. Augustine of Hippo, Francis of Assisi, and Teresa of Avila are all well-known older and established saints. Yet the Church has just put forward a new face of holiness, Carlo Acutis, a young Italian computer enthusiast who died in 2006 at just 15 years old. Carlo's beatification in 2020 and his canonization on the 7th of September 2025 have captivated Catholics worldwide. Carlo Acutis was born on the 3rd of May 1991 in London, where his Italian parents were working at the time. He was baptised shortly after at Our Lady of Dola's Church in the Chelsea area of London, where a shrine to him now exists. Soon after, the family returned to Milan, Italy, where Carlo spent most of his short life. From an early age, he displayed a deep love for God and for the Catholic faith. Unlike many of his peers, Carlo's interests were not only centred on sports, video games, or typical teenage pursuits, although he did enjoy them. Instead, Carlo cultivated a remarkable devotion to the Eucharist. His mother often recalls how Carlo's faith seemed extraordinary even as a child. He insisted on attending daily Mass, prayed the Rosary often, and spent time in Eucharistic adoration. In many ways, Carlo's devotion to the Eucharist became the defining feature of his life. He once famously said, "The Eucharist is my highway to heaven." Alongside his spiritual maturity, Carlo had a natural affinity for computers. A gifted programmer, he used his technical skills to spread devotion to the faith. Most notably, he created a website cataloguing Eucharistic miracles from around the world, a massive undertaking for a teenager in the early 2000s. His work demonstrated a unique blend of modern technology with timeless Catholic devotion. In 2006, Carlo's life was tragically cut short when he was diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia. He passed away on October 12, 2006, offering up his sufferings for the Pope and for the Church. He was buried in Assisi, the city of St. Francis, in accordance with his wishes. The Catholic Church has a formal and rigorous process for declaring saints, known as canonization. The process typically begins with the individual being named a servant of God, followed by recognition of heroic virtue, which earns the title venerable. The next stage, beatification, requires a verified miracle attributed to the intercession of the individual. Finally, canonization, or sainthood, requires a second verified miracle. For Carlo, this process moved remarkably swiftly compared to many others. In 2013, just 7 years after his death, the cause for his canonization was officially opened. In 2018, Pope Francis declared Carlo venerable, recognizing his heroic virtues. The first miracle attributed to Carlo involved the healing of a young boy in Brazil who suffered from a rare pancreatic disorder. After prayers for Carlo's intercession, the boy was inexplicably cured. The Vatican thoroughly investigated this healing, eventually approving it as a miracle. On October 10th, 2020, Carlo was beatified in Assisi, drawing international attention and devotion. On the 23rd of May 2024, Francis recognised a second miracle attributed to Carlo's intercession. This miracle occurred in 2022, when a Costa Rican woman had fallen off her bike and suffered a brain hemorrhage, with doctors giving her low chances of survival. Her mother prayed for the intercession of Carlo and visited his tomb. The same day, the woman began to breathe independently again and was able to walk the next day, with all evidence of the hemorrhage having disappeared. Carlo would have been canonized as a saint in 2024 had it not been for the sudden death of Pope Francis. many pilgrims had gathered in Rome to celebrate the planned canonization, instead finding themselves present at the time of the Pope's death and his funeral. Carlo was finally canonized on the 7th of September 2025 by Pope Leo XIV in St. Peter's Square. To understand the significance of Carlo's canonization, it is important to grasp the theology of sainthood. In Catholic teaching, saints are not divine beings, but rather holy men and women who lived lives of heroic virtue and are now believed to be in heaven, interceding for the faithful on earth. The process of canonization is therefore the Church's recognition of what God has already done, welcoming the person into eternal life. Carlo's life presents an especially compelling case because it shows holiness is not limited to monks, mystics, or martyrs of the past. Rather, sainthood is attainable for ordinary people living in modern times. Carlo did not found a religious order or write theological treatises. Instead, he lived his teenage years with extraordinary faith, making him a figure relatable to Catholics today, especially younger ones. Carlo's devotion to the Eucharist speaks directly to a central feature of Catholic theology, the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. His life serves as a witness to the importance of the sacraments, prayer, and personal holiness. One of the most fascinating aspects of Carlo's legacy is his relationship with technology. Unlike many of the saints of old, Carlo was a digital native. He grew up during the rise of the internet and computer technology, and he harnessed these tools for evangelization. Carlo's website cataloguing Eucharistic miracles was not done merely as a hobby, but as an act of devotion. His work has since been expanded and made available worldwide, inspiring countless Catholics to rediscover the miracle of the Eucharist. In our digital age, where social media often promotes vanity, distraction, or division, Carlo's example offers an alternative vision, using technology as a means to spread faith. For this reason, many have dubbed him the patron of the internet or the patron of digital evangelization, although this title has not yet been officially conferred by the Church. To appreciate Carlo's sanctity, it is essential to examine his spiritual practices. Carlo lived an ordinary teenage life. He played football, enjoyed video games, and spent time with friends. Yet he ordered his life around the sacraments and prayer. He attended Mass daily, prayed the Rosary, and made frequent visits to the Blessed Sacrament. He believed in making small sacrifices daily, offering them for the intentions of others. He also had a strong devotion to the Virgin Mary, modelling his life on her virtues and those of the saints. What stands out is not that Carlo was different from his peers in every way, but that he integrated holiness into the ordinary routines of his teenage life. He shows that sanctity is not about withdrawing from the world, but living in it with faith. As a result, the Catholic Church has highlighted Carlo as a model for young people. In a world marked by consumerism, secularism, and digital distractions, Carlo's life demonstrates that holiness is possible even in the modern age. He reminds young Catholics that they are called to be saints, not in some distant, abstract sense, but in the here and now, in the digital and globalized world that they live in. Pope Francis specifically pointed to Carlo as an example of youthful holiness. The Pope emphasized that sanctity is not something far removed from ordinary life, but rather something accessible to all who live in faith. In a short time, devotion to Carlo has spread across the globe. Pilgrims flock to his tomb in Assisi, where his incorrupt body is displayed for veneration. His story has been translated into numerous languages, and youth ministries, schools, and parishes invoke his intercession. Carlo's example resonates particularly with young Catholics, who see in him someone like themselves, a teenager navigating school, friendships, and technology, yet striving for holiness. His story has also touched non-Catholics, who see in him a witness to the power of faith in the contemporary world. While Carlo's canonization has been widely celebrated, it has not been without criticism. Some argue that the speed of his cause raises concerns about whether sufficient time has passed to assess his long-term influence. Others worry that elevating a teenager, might set unrealistic expectations for other young Catholics. Additionally, the phenomenon of incorrupt bodies, such as Carlo's, has been met with both devotion and skepticism. While pilgrims view it as a sign of holiness, others have called for scientific clarity about the preservation methods used and possible natural explanations. Ultimately, the story of Carlo Acutis is not just about a boy who loved computers and going to Mass. It is about what holiness looks like to Catholics in the modern age. Carlo teaches them that sainthood is not confined to the past, nor is it reserved for priests, religious, or martyrs. Rather, sainthood is a universal call to live with love, to seek God, and to sanctify the ordinary moments of daily life. Carlo's witness also reminds Catholics that technology, when used well, can be a tool for evangelization and holiness. He shows that youth is not an obstacle to holiness, but rather an opportunity. His life and legacy invites us to rethink what it means to be both a saint and a Catholic in the 21st century. He was a teenager who loved video games and programming, yet he also loved God with a radical simplicity that transformed everyone around him. His canonization has already inspired countless Catholics, and the first millennial saint will undoubtedly continue to grow in popularity. Carlo's story is not just about him. It is a message for all Catholics. It is about the call to holiness that echoes in every age, every culture, and every life. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for more History with Liam.